Let's start here on the infusion pump team dashboard. Dashboarding is a common capability across the ELM platform. Dashboards can be created for the project, for teams, or personal dashboards can be created for individual users. Dashboards give instant access to the project data that's most relevant to you, whether you're a test engineer looking at the current defect list, or a project manager looking at the status of the project. And what's more, the data presented in the dashboards is always up to date. For example, here on the General tab of our team dashboard, we have a widget showing a graph of how many system requirements have linked test cases and how many don't. We'll see a few more later, as we'll be using this dashboard as a jumping off point to various parts of the demonstration. Let's start with this Design Planning tab. Here we can see various widgets focused on the planning aspects of our project. We'll come back to those in a moment. But first, let's follow this link to the practice content. Practice content is a library of guidance for a specific workflow or standard that not only documents the process, but provides guidance to engineers in their day-to-day work. Here, for example, we're looking at the practice library for the IEC 62304 standard, which provides best practices for embedded software development for medical devices. Over here on the left, if we expand this category, we can see the high-level objectives of IEC 62304. If, on the other hand, we expand this category, we can see that there is a delivery process, which is a detailed, prescriptive workflow, including activities and tasks on how to satisfy those objectives. Of course, you can use your own process or customize this one. Let's select the Software Development Process objective. Here, we can see a detailed list of the objectives under that heading. 5.1 is all about planning, 5.2 is about requirements, 5.3 is focused on architecture, and so on. By way of example, let's click on 5.7.1, which is all about verification, and specifies that the software verification tests shall cover all requirements and include inputs, outputs, and selected outcomes. Below the objective, we can see how it's mapped to the workflow. There's a list of the related elements in the detailed workflow guidance that helps our engineering teams to actually meet these objectives. Let's dive into one of those, the task to develop test cases. Here we can see the various roles involved, the input and output work products from the task, and detailed step-by-step guidance on how to perform the task and achieve the objective. The guidance can even go so far as to describe how to perform the task in a specific tool. We call those tool mentors. Let's move back to our team dashboard and take a look at how all of that guidance translates into actual work products. In order to comply with IEC 62304 and ISO 13485, we have to have a plan. Our infusion pump has a plan, which in this case is organised using iterative agile principles. At the bottom, we can see the development plans, including one for each program increment and an overall solution roadmap. Those development plans contain concepts from standard agile practices, including epics, features, stories, and tasks. In a moment, we'll dive into one of those development plans and take a closer look. But first, here on our dashboard, we can get a clear view of the status of the project in many different ways. For example, on the left is a graph of all of the work items in the solution roadmap, grouped by their owner. On the right, we can see some specific views that help with prioritizing the work according to agile principles. At the bottom, we can see a traceability graph of where our features, capabilities, and so on have been traced to requirements, design architecture, and test cases. Let's now open the solution roadmap. Here we have two high-level epics, including this one, deliver an external infusion pump. If we expand that epic, we can see it's broken down into capabilities. If we expand the deliver therapy capability, we can see that those are broken down into features. And if we expand this initiate drug infusion feature, we can see that's been broken down into user stories. Over on the right, we can see which program increment or sprint these artifacts are planned for. But there are also detailed tasks that have to be performed at each of these levels, and those tasks map back to the practice content we saw earlier, as well as the classical V lifecycle. If I switch the view to show those tasks in this tree, then we can see at capability level we have tasks for both sides of the top of the V lifecycle. On the left-hand side, we perform functional analysis for the deliver therapy use case. And on the right-hand side of the V, we perform system qualification testing for that same use case. At feature level, we move down the V, and the tasks are around the development of a system architecture and system integration testing. And if we expand this story and we move further down, then the tasks are at the software level, developing and testing software architectures. Now, this is only one of many views we can use to consume and modify our planning data. For example, here is a classic Kanban view, and we can move work items through the process quickly and easily by dragging and dropping between these columns.